one great story that to really back this up about positive phrasing. I'm a very positive person. My mom's very positive. That's where I get it from. So shout out to her. One of my favorite research studies in this was the University of Kent did research on human endurance and the effects of motivational self-talk. They had athletes go on stationary bikes and work them until exhaustion. Half of the group used positive phrases at the beginning and then at the end of their sessions. When tested to exhaustion again 2 weeks later, this train group lasted 18% longer than on their previous test, while the control group didn't change at all. Hey, everybody. My name's Ryan Atkinson, and you are on the Business Cloud. I recently read a book that has changed my life on how I approach mindset and confidence. And today I am incredibly grateful to have the author of that book, Dr. Nate Zinsser of The Confident Mind, on the show to talk about it. Dr. Nate Zinsser is also the director of performance psychology program at the United States Military Academy and has trained athletes like Eli Manning and multiple Olympians. Dr. Nate, thank you so much for being here. I've had this on the calendar for so long. I'm so excited for you.
I am delighted to be here, Ryan, and I look forward to our conversation. Let's rock.
Let's rock. I want to just kind of set the tone for the audience that may be listening, because when I read this book, I wanted to read this book. One, I've always wanted to be more confident. I consider myself very out there, but I never had that confident mindset of like taking action and really just honing in on my confidence. But since reading it about a month ago, it's really changed how I approach mindset. So I'm curious, when athletes and like Olympians come to you, even your own life, are people always just like inherently confident, or is it something you really can train?
Um, Confidence is absolutely something that you can train. It is a series of thought processes that you become more familiar and more comfortable performing. And as you do so, your sense of certainty about yourself with regard to a particular activity or profession increases. That's how I approach it, as a learnable, practicable skill.
Yeah, it is learnable and it is like taking action. And one of the concepts that was in the book was the ESPs. That's been the most moving for me, as I do it daily now, literally daily before I go to bed every single night. Can you talk to us like what the ESP is, how to implement it, and like why it is so effective? I think it is a brilliant concept.
Okay. ESP stands for effort, success, and progress. And as I was explaining, confidence is a sense of certainty that is the result of how you think about yourself.
Yep.
And we all go through the day and we experience hundreds of things. And we have hundreds of memories. We have hundreds of thoughts about the day as the day winds down. And if we want to build our sense of certainty, it's important for us to be rather selective about which of the day's experiences, thoughts, memories we choose to hang on to, and which we choose to, release, restructure, and in some cases forget altogether.
Yep.
So if you want to be more certain about yourself, it makes sense to take a few minutes at the end of the day. And I'll ask you how many minutes this takes for you, Ryan Atkinson, in just a second. But it makes sense to take a few minutes at the end of the day and look back upon your day and ask yourself the question, where did I put in some quality effort? Where did I, push through the standard procrastination um, that plagues just about everybody? Where did I buckle down and get something done? Maybe that I didn't really
Yep.
want to get done, but I did it. Okay, and you should make a note of that. I got through that inbox. I got through the fourth mile of my 5 mile run where I was thinking about punking out and taking it easy.
Yep.
Where did I give good effort? Ask yourself that question and take note of the answer, because that answer is a reason for you to be certain about yourself. That answer is what I refer to as a deposit into your mental bank account. So that's the E for effort. Secondly, ask yourself the question, what little successes did I achieve today? S for success. What
Yep.
did I get right? Um, yes, I made 8 out of 10 in my 3-point shooting drill
Yep.
at this part of practice, or I understood a particular concept in chemistry class. Okay, I made some success. Again, it's not, you didn't win a Nobel Prize, you didn't win the Super Bowl, but it's just a small success. And you take note of that, and those memories, those thoughts, those experiences are, again, deposits into your mental bank account. So
hmm
now you have more to be certain about. And the last phase in this reflective exercise is P, standing for progress. So the third question is, what am I getting better at these days? And you look back on today and you look back on yesterday and maybe the day before. And yeah, I'm getting better at sustaining my pace um, in my 800-meter intervals. I'm getting better at interacting with this professor. I'm getting better at negotiating things with my boss. And again, these particular reflections help you be more certain about yourself down the line. They are again deposits in the mental bank account. And the idea is to continuously do this day after day so as to build that bank account. Um, and it's not a lot of work to do this.
It is not.
How, how many minutes does it take you to do this, Ryan?
It probably takes me anywhere from about 10 to 15, but that's 50 minutes a week, 60, 70 minutes a week. But looking back on, I've been doing it for a month. It's just amazing to reflect on. Be like, I've had all of these successes. That's the power of the S's. It's like, oh, I've had all these successes. I'm like, oh, I really have made a lot of progress in what I want to make progress in. So it doesn't take a lot of time and the benefits are unbelievable.
Okay, you're the best advertisement there is. Thank you.
That's so how I actually do it. I wrote down like my top four focus areas that I want to, strive for each quarter or whatnot. And so it's like my
Mhm.
podcast, it's my freelancing, it's my job, and it's like my personal development. So each night I'll write down podcasts. Then what was my effort? What was my success? What was my progress? Then I also do like an affirmation about this. One
Mhm.
of the reasons I wanted to read the book was I wanted to take more action in my life because I've always been like, oh my God, like I just don't take action. But this has really opened it up. And in the past month, I've taken the most action I've seen. So I want to thank you for that.
Oh, you're very welcome. You just made a very important point that I would like to emphasize for your listeners. You are doing this exercise with respect to your podcast,
hmm
with respect to your freelancing, with respect to your other job,
Yeah.
and with respect to your personal life. Okay. That is very important.
Mhm.
You are specifically working to become a more confident individual in this application, and this application.
Yeah.
The misconception is perhaps that, oh, confidence is this all-encompassing skill,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be confident across the board in everything.
hmm
Not necessarily, unless you work at it. There are people who are phenomenally confident um, in the courtroom as a litigator, but
Yeah.
boy, you put them on the golf course, and they're afraid of a mouse.
Yeah.
They're afraid of messing up everything. So confidence is very situation specific, and you are taking steps to specifically grow in these various areas. Anyone can do that. I can look for the best in myself and build a mental bank account as it applies to my golf game, as it applies to my overall health and fitness, as it applies to my job and my family life. So, again, kudos to you. Keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate that. And you made a really good point. It is a lot of situational because I can say, like, I'm very confident when it comes to podcasting, like freelancing, my job and personal development. But you put me across the room from a girl or something, it's a whole new ballgame. So I think that's a very important concept that you make is it is situational where we are confident in, but it's really where we want to focus in being confident in.
Gotcha. Okay, you're dead on with that. Um, so, to all your listeners, whatever you wish to become confident in, you can.
I love that.
Do the
When
do
it
the
comes
drills, and you'll build the skills, and you'll pay the bills.
I like that. I really, really like that. One question that comes to mind is if we take like two variables, let's take confidence and let's take skill. Out of a scale of 100, I mean, what do you think the importance is of these two variables on a ratio aspect?
Oh, wow. I will be the first to admit that great confidence in the absence of skill is only going to get you so far.
Yep.
I will make the opposite argument as well. Great skill in the absence of confidence will only get you so far. Um, and it's very common for people to study hard,
Yeah.
work hard, gain skill, gain competence, gain knowledge in their uh, art, craft, profession, sport, whatever. But then they get to the point where it's time to deliver, the time to execute, the
Yep.
time to, I guess, enact all the knowledge and skill that they've been working on. And they have a difficult time doing that because they say to themselves at the moment of truth, what if I didn't study enough? Or,
Yep.
yeah, I did this, but what if he asks that question?
Yep.
It's very easy to undermine the skill that you have developed through your work and through your study because you don't give yourself credit for it. You don't
Yep.
acknowledge it. You don't own it. You're not certain enough about it. So it really is a blending. I'm not sure which comes first,
Mm.
confidence or success. I tend to think that no matter how skilled you are, you won't be successful unless you match your skill level with confidence. So, at the risk of stepping way out on a limb, I'm going to say, ladies and gentlemen, you got to develop your confidence. Back when you were learning how to ride a bicycle as a little kid, you didn't have a whole lot of skill.
Yeah.
And, you probably skinned your knee or ran into a tree or fell off the bike multiple times. So you didn't really have any skill, but yet you persevered with the
Hmm.
idea that, hey, this can be done. You actually had a degree of confidence about yourself. You saw other kids do it, mom and dad said you could do it. You actually had a degree of confidence in the absence of skill.
Yeah.
So I lean on the side of, cultivate your confidence and your skill at the same time and have them work together.
I like that. So I grew up in Iowa, went to the University of Iowa, huge Hawkeye fan. They have a great quarterback, Spencer Petras. I'll just throw it out there. He at California, he broke like the all-time record for passing yards. Great arm talent. But when he comes to Iowa, he makes some incredible throws and he makes some incredible throws. And it's like, wow, this guy has arm talent, but it's not always consistent. And it's like since reading the book, it's like, well, is he confident? Like, is he taking like the actions daily? This guy has the success in the past. And you gave a great example about that of like the small fish in a big pond. Now it's just like, well, you're still that same healthy fish, but you just are in a bigger pond, but you just need to remember that. So I want to ask the question, as you progress in your career from like high school, college to an elite level, confidence, does it become more important or is it the same through all levels?
I think it does become more of an important factor the higher you go in your respective field. Um, because as you move from, say, the high school ranks to the college ranks, just to use an athletic example, the level of physical skill at the college
Hmm.
level is a lot more even. Everybody who is recruited to play college sports is pretty darn good. The range of physical talent at the college level will be smaller than the range of physical talent at the high school level,
Yep.
which means your confidence is going to be more important. And then let's say you get drafted into the pros or you're selected for an Olympic development team. Now you are moving to an even more evenly matched roster in
Mhm.
terms of strength, speed, skill. So, what's going to separate the top people at that new level from the bottom people at that new level? Well, it's not going to be height, weight, 40-yard dash time, bench press, you name whatever physical variable is important. What's going to differentiate the top people at that level from the bottom people at that level is who's the most confident. Who's the most confident when it's important to be confident, you know? And it's important to be confident when you're in those scrimmage situations and the coach is breathing down your neck, looking at you, and you don't have the luxury of going, okay, this is kind of uptight.
Yeah.
I don't like it when he's watching me. I'm getting a little hesitant here. No, you don't have that luxury if indeed you want to find out how good you are at this new level.
Yeah, that's what I think is like really important. It's like you progress through these levels, but like you still are that same person that has put into the work. But it's just you really need to reflect on the successes that you've had and the progresses that you've made to stay confident no matter where you go and no matter how far you progress. And that was like one of the biggest takeaways from this book. Seriously, it was such a good book. I keep saying that, but it was so good. And yeah, I think that's a really important concept is people need to reflect more on their successes to deposit that in their mental bank account so they can be more sure of themselves and be more confident in themselves. One
Absolutely.
one great story that to really back this up about positive phrasing. I'm a very positive person. My mom's very positive. That's where I get it from. So shout out to her. One of my favorite research studies in this was the University of Kent did research on human endurance and the effects of motivational self-talk. They had athletes go on stationary bikes and work them until exhaustion. Half of the group used positive phrases at the beginning and then at the end of their sessions. When tested to exhaustion again 2 weeks later, this train group lasted 18% longer than on their previous test, while the control group didn't change at all. Mind blowing.
Wow. Yeah. Um, the author of the book Endure, Canadian scientist and endurance runner by the name of Alex Hutchinson, came across that study um, years after he had been himself an elite distance runner. He qualified for the Canadian Olympic trials in the 1500-meter run twice. Um, and during his college years at McGill University in Montreal, he was exposed to information and advice on talking to yourself constructively, basically talking back to that voice that plagues especially, middle distance runners. Oh, this pace
Yeah.
is too fast. I don't think I can hang. You
Yep.
know, he was given advice on talking back to that, and
Yeah.
as a smart aleck youngster, he said, this is garbage. It doesn't matter. This mental stuff can't possibly work. And then you fast forward 20 years, and he's looked at everything that goes into endurance performance, diet, training methods, and as you mentioned, these studies, I think that the Kent study is representative. These studies that really show a remarkable effect of positively talking back to that voice. I refer to it as getting in the last word. And at the very end of Mr. Hutchinson's book, like 6 pages from the end, he says, if I could go back and alter something of my own running career, you know, after doing all this work and understanding all this stuff, the biggest advice I would give to my young self would be to really practice this kind of motivational self talk
Yep.
diligently with no snickering. Okay. I mean, so here's a guy who's looking back and saying, dang, this has I understand how important this is, how valuable this is. You know, 18% increase in 2 weeks. Who wouldn't want that? I don't care if are you a salesman? Are you a distance runner? Are you a lacrosse attackman? You don't want an 18% increase
Yeah.
in that kind of short period of time? Oh, and by the way, you also feel more comfortable doing it. That was another finding of the study. They had much lower perceived exertion levels.
Yeah.
So it's a remarkable piece of research. And I think Mr. Hutchinson's um, self disclosure, basically saying, boy, I was a knucklehead. I didn't do this. He might have made the Olympic team instead of just competing at the trials. Who knows?
Yes, and I think it's just a very fascinating study because like that I read that and like the next day I go to work out and I have like a circuit of like burpees and everyone approaches burpees like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to be doing burpees right now. These are hard. And I'm doing that. My first set, I'm just like, oh my gosh, these are so hard. And then I literally stop and I go, you know what? I'm getting better at this. I am like pushing myself to the limits. I'm really improving myself here. I'm gonna really dig in here. And now I look at burpees at a whole new light where it's like, oh, like this is actually kind of fun. So that's the mindset just shift that this book has given me. And I would encourage everyone to read it because this is powerful stuff that you're writing.
Thank you again.
And another great story back going back to like my personal life where your book impacted me. You have a story about the cadets in the mill move experience where they had mats, climbing ropes, and other equipment. Some thought of it as a playground, and some thought this is going to suck. The difference, and then you quote, the difference of initial beliefs set into motion two variations of universal principle into human behavior, the self-fulfilling prophecy. Can you talk to us a little bit more about this, the mill move experience and how people approach, hard situations?
Sure. The the military movement course is a mandatory physical education course at West Point. You must pass the course in order to stay a cadet in good standing. And in order to pass the course, you have to complete within a certain time an indoor obstacle course test, which is set up in this old gymnasium, and it consists of several tasks of running, jumping, climbing, balancing, uh, climbing ropes, climbing monkey bars, and you have to do this at maximum speed for maximum points. You know, and it's one of those courses that has a certain sort of legendary mystique about it. Um, every cadet hears about it from some upperclassmen or from a roommate or a classmate who has maybe taken it the previous semester.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of sort of mystique and aura about it, and it's very clear that some cadets will walk into that and say, "Oh my gosh, I've never done these sorts of climbing, balancing tasks. This is really gonna suck."
Yeah.
And as a result of that opinion, the quality of the effort that they give during the class periods is dramatically different, dramatically lower in most cases, than
Yep.
the quality of effort that some other cadet who has perhaps had some climbing, balancing experience, who will look at all this stuff and say, "Oh, well, this is kind of neat. This is like a great big grown-up playground.
Yes.
This this could be really cool." And just with that initial impression, this could be really cool, or oh my gosh, I think this is really going to suck. That
Yeah.
significantly changes the quality of effort that you invest as the class days go on. And not surprisingly, that different quality of effort is going to influence the results that you have, the
Hmm.
grade that you get at the end of the course. So in most cases, the initial belief you have about the course, leading to the quality of effort, leading to a particular grade, it's a cyclic process, you know? Oh yeah, I only got a C. I told you this was going to suck.
Yeah.
Or, oh yeah, I really went after it because I thought it was kind of cool, and I ended up with an A or an A minus. Yeah, I was right. It was kind of cool. So we all get to pat ourselves on the back and tell ourselves how correct we are
Yep.
um, about our opinions, and we are all in so many significant ways influenced by those opinions. We have opinions about how fast we are, how tough we are, how handsome we are, how
Yep.
beautiful we are, how smart we are at this, how smart we are in that. And all of those opinions influence the quality of our effort in those respective situations. And so what we end up with as results are confirmations of the belief that we started out with. Um, Indeed, your belief about something, even the
Yeah.
military movement class, your belief about it in the moment can be based upon your past experience. But from this moment going forward, your belief about it is causing your future experience.
Yep.
So be realistic with yourself, ladies and gentlemen. What's the experience that you want to have? If you're content with a C, fine. Give marginal effort. If what you really want is to get a great grade, you're going to have to put in quality effort. And in order to put in that quality effort, you're going to have to change the belief that you have about the whole process.
Yes. Is it lying to yourself when you say these things though? I tutor one student, I should say. She's a sixth grade girl, and this was literally yesterday. She's doing division. She hates division, and I'm just like, I literally stop her. I go, no, say out loud right now, you love division and like you're good at division. And she goes, well, that's lying. I go, well, yeah, don't lie to other people, but like you can lie to yourself about this. So is it lying to yourself though when you're saying
Well,
these things
you know,
that, you know?
this is a fascinating question. I get into this discussion all the time. Is it lying to yourself to say, you know, I really can do this. I really can do this, as opposed to saying to yourself, this is really hard for me. I can't do this.
Yeah.
You might be lying to yourself both ways.
Yeah.
I mean, is it indeed a lie to tell yourself I can't do long division, or I can't balance a complex chemical equation, or I can't figure out these specifics of, you know, um, Microsoft PowerPoint
Yeah.
or Excel or whatever. Maybe you're telling yourself another kind of lie that you can't, because how do you know for sure? So I usually end up saying, okay, which lie do you want to believe in? Which lie gives you a greater chance of success? You know, it's we all live in various states of delusion about
Mhm.
ourselves. I would urge us to be constructively delusional. No, that doesn't mean we run out in the middle of an interstate, hold our hands up, and expect the 85-mile-an-hour trucks to come to a screeching halt. But when it comes to how we think about ourselves, your long division student is really making it harder on herself
Yeah.
when she says over and over again, I can't get this. This is really hard. I can't get this. I'll never get this. As opposed to, well, I got a couple last week.
Yeah.
Uh, I can get this. You know, I love discovering new things about myself. I
Yep.
love making progress in school. If we can get her to think that way, the quality of her effort as she goes through long division exercises
Yep.
will move in the constructive direction, hence give her a much better chance. And then she can say, look, I can get this. I went from 4 out of 10 correct answers to 7 out of 10 to 9 out of 10. Okay, look at me. I can get this.
I wish I
So,
was wise enough to tell. Yeah. Sorry.
um, so that's pretty much where I come down on that particular topic. You know, what lie do you want to tell yourself, and is it a helpful one, or does it just keep you stagnant?
I wish I was wise enough to say that yesterday. Because that's what I just told her. I was like, well, you're not, it's okay to lie to yourself, but not to other people. But that's a really interesting mindset is, well, what lie do you want to tell yourself? Maybe, yeah, like I can do this. Like I'm really good at long division. I will get this down. I can do this.
Hmm.
Or is it the lie that you want to tell yourself? Like, I can't do that. And I don't want to do this. So that's a really just like, oh my gosh, that'll stick with me forever. That's a really good one.
Good.
I want to talk about like we've talked a lot about mindset, and I don't know, like just from like the people we've talked about. I mean, why isn't there a bigger emphasis on developing one's mindset? I don't know, like
Mm.
just from our conversation, like it just feel like it's not an importance in an athlete's life, an entrepreneur's life, when it's probably one of the most important things.
That is a bazillion-dollar question, Mr. Atkinson.
A whole book about it.
Yes. Why isn't there a greater emphasis on this? Um, my only answer is that our upbringing tends to focus on tangible changes
Yep.
that we can actually measure, you know, um, something that we can measure with a stopwatch, or how many weights are on the barbell,
Yep.
or how many answers did you get right on the quiz.
Yep.
And if we can't measure it satisfactorily, it's easy to sort of discount its importance. Um,
Hmm.
that's the only answer I've got. Um, why does our society not value mindset as much as it probably should? That is a great sociological question, a little bit outside my pay grade. But I will say this, because of people like you, there is a greater awareness of
Yeah.
the effects of your state of mind on your performance day in and day out. Um, the research is certainly there to support doing
Yes.
so. And, influential people are indeed making this point important. Okay. State of mind comes first, you
Yep.
know. Cultivate the right state of mind. Other things tend to fall into place. You can work really hard, but if you don't cultivate the right state of mind, a lot of your work will be um, compromised. Is the polite way to say it. So I'm just constantly encouraging people to look for the best in yourself, handle that voice of negativity which tends to reside in all of us, um, and give yourself a chance to be as good as you can be in the moment, wherever you happen to be. That's the best I can do for you, pal.
And I love that because before I go on every podcast episode now, that mindset shift is before I get on here, I get on Zoom early, stand in front of the camera, get some smiles, and I literally look at myself in the Zoom camera. I go, this will be the best podcast I record. I am so excited for this. This is going to be awesome. And I just keep telling myself over and over. And it's just that mindset shift. I didn't necessarily do that before. I was had it in the back of my mind, but now it's verbalizing it and really making
Right.
myself believe, because it helps me perform, I hope. So we are coming down to a conclusion on this chapter of the podcast, the book. I don't know how to reference that. Try to make that funny, but probably not. I want to ask, through and through, like, this is just a phenomenal book. Like, you're obviously just from this podcast episode, you're very sharp. You're very, I would say, charismatic as well.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how to ask this question. Like, how, what would you say? Of course, I'd say mindset, but like, I don't know how to, I'm just going to ask it. How does someone get like you?
Well, I don't think it's a question of getting like me. It's a
Mm,
question of getting to the best version of yourself. Okay. Um, I will never have Eli Manning's passing skills or football IQ.
yeah.
Um, he has different gifts. Um, I try to become the best version of myself, and I would urge all of your listeners not necessarily to emulate somebody else, but think of yourself as being the first of a trend. I'm not the next, say, I wouldn't want a young tennis player to say to herself, I'm the next Serena Williams.
Mm,
I would want that young tennis player to say, I am the first and greatest Sally Jones. And I'm
mm.
going to find out how great Sally Jones can be. I will certainly watch the Serena Williamses of the world. I might learn something about racket preparation and footwork and how she behaves during the changeovers, how she behaves between points. I might be able to learn something from her, but I'm not going to be her. I want to be me.
Yeah.
Imitating somebody else is only going to get you so far. Learn from other people, but understand that it is your attention to your own unique magic that is going to take you as far as you can go. Don't try to imitate somebody else. Don't try to be the next somebody else. Try to be the first and greatest version of yourself.
It's beautiful. And we'll end with that because that is so, so great. I could ask 30 follow-up questions, but I want to be respectful of our time and our listeners' time. Dr. Nate, seriously, I'm like buzzing. This was so, so good. I don't know if it's the coffee or if it was just, this was phenomenal. Thank you so much for joining us and talking about the confidence mind. I'll plug it here and all the links will be down below. You can see all my book tabs in here. Thank you so much for joining us. This was a great conversation about mindset. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you, Ryan, for the opportunity to interact with you. You are a great interviewer, and I hope all your listeners can take something away from this and make a little change in their lives.
Absolutely. Thank you so, so much. This was great. Thank you. Hey, everybody. Thank you so, so much for tuning into today's episode with Dr. Nate Zinsser. I said at the end, but I'm literally buzzing from this episode. It was so impactful about mindset and confidence. I'll plug the book right here and it'll be in the links below. This is actually the UK version, so the US version. Not sure why I got this. So impactful, though, about mindset. This book really changed my life and how I'm taking action and how I approach life, how I approach workouts, how I approach this podcast, how I approach my job, personal development. Life-changing book, and I'd highly, highly recommend it. If you learned something about mindset and confidence in this video, drop a like on it. Why not? Also, make sure to smash that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell for all of our upcoming episodes. We have a ton of guests lined up for you. And also, we want you to whip out that smartphone and head to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating as well. It gets great guests like Dr. Nate Zinsser onto this podcast, and they think, oh my God, a lot of people listen to this. They love it. Why not jump on? So it really does help. And lastly, let's just binge a few more episodes. We have a lot of guests on this podcast and a lot of great guests on this podcast. And we want you to make sure you get all the insight. So check out some of our recent episodes and head over to hear from these great entrepreneurs so you can also be inspired.